My name is Keshwani. It's Keshwani. Keshwani. We are here because we want to prepare for SAT. We have been solving SAT math problems out of this book here, the official SAT study guide. If you do not own this book already, purchase one immediately. You're going to need it. The problem that we are about to solve is the one that you will find on page number 586. Please turn to it, page 586. Problem number 19 and 20 are the ones that we're going to do, and they're both hard problems. Obviously they're hard problems because they are the last two in a series of 20. On a scale of 1 to 20, these are number 19 and 20. Let's take a look at it. Number 19. It says in the picture above, we're given a picture here that looks something like this. A slice of a circle. A slice of a circle with a 30 degree, and we are told that this is P, Q, and R. In the picture above, QR is arc of the circle. As we can see here, QR is the arc of the circle with the center P. This is the center of the circle. We are told that the length of the arc QR is 6 pi. So that's 6 pi right here. What exactly are they asking? What is the area of the sector? What's the area of this sector PQR? What's the area of this slice PQR? Let's see what we can do here. Well, very first thing we need to realize here, very first thing we need to understand here is the fact that this slice that they're showing us, a 30 degree slice, is actually 1/12 of the whole circle. And there are two ways we can go about realizing this thing. One is that 30 degrees out of a 360, the whole circle is 360 degrees. So this is 1/12. This is 1/12. This slice right here is 1/12 of the circle. We know the length of this arc QR. Therefore, if we want to multiply that length of the QR by 12, we should be able to find the length of the entire circle. Of course, the length of the entire circle, or the distance around the whole circle, is what we call circumference. Therefore, the circumference of this circle is 12 times 6 pi. 12 times 6 pi. Now, why do we need to find the circumference? Because they are looking for the area of this slice, and before we can find the area of this particular slice, we first have to find the area of the entire circle. And in order for us to be able to find the area of the entire circle, we need to know the radius, because the area of the circle equals pi r squared. We need to know the radius. This is how we're going to find the radius, because we know circumference equals 2 pi r. So this quantity that we just arrived at, 12 times 6 pi, which is the circumference of the circle, must equal 2 pi r, which is the circumference. Now we can solve for the r. Once we have the radius of the circle, we can figure out the area of the entire circle, and once we have the area of the entire circle, we can take a 12th of that, and that will be the area of the slice. So that's one way of doing it. Another way we could have figured out the circumference is to set it up as a proportion problem, like this. Here's the degree, and here's the length. We are told that 30 degrees represents 6 pi. Therefore, 360 degrees would represent the circumference, the length of the entire circle, circumference. If we cross multiply, we find that 30 times c equals 360 times 6 pi. Let's keep it separate. Let's keep it separate here. And we just solve for the circumference, and we'll find the same value as we found here, no different. It'll be 12 times 6 pi. You'll see in a second. We want to find the circumference, so let's divide both sides by 30, and the circumference equals 360 times 6 pi over 30. And of course the zeros drop out if you divide top and bottom by 10. And 3 divided by, that will be 1, and then 6 goes into 3 twice. You can see 12 times 6 pi. 12 times 6 pi, that's your circumference. So now we know the circumference is 12 times 6 pi. We can solve for the r, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. If we divide both sides by pi, pi will drop out, and if we divide both sides by 2, this 2 will drop out and 3 will turn into, 6 will turn into a 3. And that's our radius. This 2 will cancel out, and that's our radius. So radius equals 3 times 12, 3 times 12, or 36. Now we have the radius, we can figure out the area of the whole circle. Area of the whole circle is going to be, tell you what, instead of finding the area of the whole circle and then find the area of the slice, let's just do directly in one step. Area of the slice is 12th of a circle. So if we take the area of the circle, which is pi r squared, and if we take a 12th of that, that will represent the area of the slice, this slice right here, because it's the 12th of the circle. So we have pi r squared is right, r is right here, it's 36. So it's 36 times 36 because it's r squared. And I'm not writing 36 squared, I'm writing it as 36 times 36, and you will see the reason behind it in a second. Over 12. And the reason is right here, because now we have to get rid of this 12. It's much easier to divide this thing into 12 if we have 36 times 36 as opposed to 36 squared. There's no need to reach for your calculator to find out what 36 squared is. It's a waste of time. Just leave it like that. And there you go. 12 goes into 36 3 times. And the area of the 12th of the circle, which is the area of the slice, equals, right here, pi times 36 times 3. Pi times 36 times 3. Let's find out what 36 times 3 is, shall we? Right here. 36 times 3 is nothing more than 30 times 3 and 6 times 3. If you come up to me and ask me out of the blue what is 36 times 3, I say, how the hell do I know? I do know what 30 times 3 is. So I'm going to break it up. 30 times 3 I know is 90. 6 times 3 we know is 18. So it's 90 plus 18 is 108. The answer is 108 pi. The area of the slice that we're looking for is 108 pi. And that's it. That's our answer, choice A. Now we can see why this one was classified as a hard question, because there are several steps involved in here before we get to where we want to go. One more time, they tell us that the length of this arc is 6 pi. We have to realize that this because this slice is a 30-degree slice, therefore it represents the 12th of the circle. If the 12th of the circle is 6 pi unit long, then the entire circle will be 12 times the amount. Once we have the circumference, we can solve for the radius. We found the radius is 36. And once we have the radius, we can figure out the area. Area is pi r squared. And since the area of the slice is 12th of the circle, divide the area by 12. So pi r squared over 12, that's your answer, area of the slice, which is pi times 36 over 12. And 36 divided by 12 is 3, therefore it is 36 times 3 pi. And 36 times 3 pi is same as 36 times 3 is same as 30 times 3 plus 6 times 3, which is 90 plus 18, 108. Let's do the next one, shall we? Number 20, the most difficult one. I'll give you a second here. Number 20. Number 20 says, there are 75 more women than men. All right. 75 more women than men. There are n men. The question simply is, what percentage are men? What percentage are men? Very simple, very straightforward question. But as I always remind you, the question may be very simple and very straightforward, but the answer typically in the hard question is anything but. Do you understand? You have to take your time. There are two ways we can go about it. This is an algebra question. How do we know it's an algebra question? Because it's got variables in it. Instead of giving a number for the men, they don't tell you there are 60 men or there are 100 men or there are 200 men. They tell us there are n men. So they're giving us variable. It's an algebra question, and therefore there are two ways we can solve this question. As I always remind you, an algebraic question on the exam, you can solve it in the algebraic way, in the traditional way, in the orthodox way, in the classical way, in a conventional way, in a geeky way, in a nerdy way, in a very academic way, or you can do it in a quick and dirty way. And the quick and dirty way is to say to yourself, forget the algebra, I'm not going to do the algebra, I'm going to make up numbers for the variables. So wherever we see variables, we just assign a value to it. And we solve the problem based on that value and see what happens. So let's make up a number for a number of men. How many men do you want? You can make up any number that you want. But typically, some numbers are smarter, easier than the others to work given the context. For example, if you're dealing with a problem that deals with yards and feet, nice numbers to plug in would be some multiples of 3, because there are 3 feet in a yard. If you're dealing with the problems that deal with minutes and hours, a good number to plug in would be some multiple of 60. This problem deals with percentage. In a percentage problem, I like to plug in 100. 100 or multiples of 100. Let's pretend there are 100 men. Let's pretend there are 100 men. N equals 100. Plug in n equals to 100. And let's see what happens. Shall we? So men, which is n, equals 100. Therefore, this means this symbol, 3 dots, means therefore, if you didn't know it, therefore, number of women would have to be, since we are told that there are 75 more women, if we're going to pretend that there are 100 men, then there would have to be 175 women. And the total of total of men and women would be 275. They're asking us what percentage are men. Well, that's very straightforward. Answer to that question simply is number of men over the total times 100. That's our answer. Number of men, we plugged in 100. So it's 100 over 275 times 100. There you go. This is what I like to call punchline. That's our punchline. We're looking for some answer that's going to work out to be 100 times 100 over 275. All we have to do at this point is to go through every single answer choice, replace n by 100. Wherever we see n, we're going to replace it with 100 and see which one gives us our punchline. Shall we? Let's get going. Let's do it right here. I need the room, so I need to erase this part here. I'm going to erase this thing here. That's it. Answer choice A. Answer choice A says n over n plus 75. Now, I'm not even going to bother with the bottom part because it's irrelevant. On the top, we only have n. n equals 100. n equals 100. That's not going to do the job. We need 100. We need 100 times 100 on the top. A is not the answer. B says, again, n over something. You see, I'm not even going to bother with the bottom part. It's n over something. That's not going to do the trick. C says, because we need 100 times 100, not 100. C says, again, C says n over something. That's not going to do the job. A, B, and C are not the answers. Let's look at D. D says 100 times 100. 100 times n, there you go, that's a good sign. 100 times 100 over n plus 75. Now this is where you have to slow down. On the bottom we need 275. The total number of people is 275 because there are 100 men and therefore there are 175 women because there are 75 more women than men, we are told. On the bottom we need total, which is 275. Here we only have 175. n plus 75 would be 175. Even though the top is fine, the bottom is not. D is the wrong answer. Answer is E. E says 100 times n, which is your 100 times 100, over 2 times n plus 75. 100 times n, which is 100, over 2 times n, which is 2 times 100, plus the 75. 2 times 100 is 200, plus the 75 is 275, which is exactly what we need here. There you go. That's our answer. That's it. So that's one way of taking care of it, with the plugging in, by plugging in numbers. Now we could have done this problem without plugging in numbers, by purely algebraic manner, by purely an algebraic way, which is not that bad actually, and we're going to do that in a second. I need the room again, so we need to raise it. Let's do it right here. Let's do it right here. Now we're going to do it the algebraic way. So we have number of men is n. Number of women, we are told, is 75 more. So it's going to be n plus 75. And therefore the total is n plus number of men. Total is going to be men plus women, which is n plus 75. You see, this is where the tricky part comes in. n plus 75, we combine the two n's, we get 2 n's plus 75. We combine the two n's and we get 2 n's. That was a peculiar sentence. We combine these n's, how about that? We combine this n and that n, we combine these n, and we will get 2n, n plus n. Of course, if you combine two n's, you're going to get 2n. That was rather philosophical of me, wasn't it? So that's your total, and therefore the percentage of men is going to be the number of men over the total times 100, which is number of men is n over the total, which is 2n plus 75 times 100. There you go. Which is exactly what E says. The only difference is that instead of putting it in this form, they bring this 100 and write that as 100 times n, which is the same thing. So they write this as, instead of n times 100, they write it as 100 times n. No difference. It's the same exact thing. Same bloody thing. Do you understand? And that's your answer. That was the end of the section number 3 in exam number 4. I will see you next time, tomorrow, where we'll begin the next math section, which is on page number 593, exam number 6, section number 6 rather. Section number 6 on page 593 will start tomorrow. Every 5 days, every 5 clips, we do one section. That's how it goes. So I'll see you tomorrow, okay? Bye now.